Can I relax in this one? I think we moved it back, didn't we?
No, you can't.
I can't?
Mm-mm.
What the
You
dick?
need to sit up like that the entire time, just like that.
Are you being for real or are you fucking with me?
Nope.
Alright,
You have to.
alright. I ain't scared.
Alright. 3, 2, 1.
Alright, and we're live on our third episode of The Long Trip. Again, I'm your host, Gary Long. This is my co-host, Christian Bedillion / tech guy. He's a wizard. So tell me about your week, Christian. Christian had a pretty crazy weekend or
Yeah.
whatever. Tell us why. Tell the people why we couldn't air on Monday at 7.
Well, it turns out I found out. I think it was Saturday night. We were driving to a donut shop in Kokomo, Indiana called Dan's at like 12 a.m. or some shit like that because it opened at like 1 a.m. And I was driving my girl's car, and her headlight was out. And so we got pulled over for that, and all I got was a warning and everything. And then we had to get gas. And so we drove down to the gas station, or I did because I was driving. Pulled over in the gas station, about to get gas. The same cop pulls up real quick with the lights on again.
How about you're freaking out?
We're like, what the hell is going on? He comes up to the window, and I roll down, obviously. He's like, you know your license is suspended? And he was like, if you continue to drive for here on out, we'll have to give you a ticket or some shit like that. And I was like, no, I had no idea my license was suspended. And I asked why. And he was like, a failure to appear. And I was like, failure to appear for what? I paid all of my tickets I've ever gotten, which was like a few speeding tickets and like one infraction. And then I've never had to appear for anything or court because I paid it all. Because the only reason I had to show up was if I wanted to fight it. But, I mean, obviously I did the shit. I just paid it.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, your license was suspended 2 years ago in 2016. It's been suspended for 2 years.
And you never knew.
No, I've been pulled over since then a few times. And they never said anything, so I never knew. I never got a paper or an email saying that I was suspended. And so right now I have a suspended license, so I couldn't get home back in Fort Wayne in time because I was visiting the family and friends in Logansport. But so that was my week. Oh, and then the cop ended up actually giving me a ticket for it. So
what a dick.
yeah. Court date's like in July 24th or something if I decide not to pay it. But obviously I'm just going to fucking pay the thing.
Yeah, just to get it done with and get everything back in order.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my weekend. So now I have a suspended license. I have to get that fixed, and that's gonna cost money. Oh, and I looked up on the BMV website. The reason it was suspended was because it said I failed to appear for a driver safety program for the infraction I got in 2016.
Yeah.
Which I knew nothing about. I paid the ticket and everything, all $333 of it, and they never said anything about a driver safety program. Not got anything in the mail, email, nothing, not a call. And so I don't know.
You just got screwed.
Yeah.
You just got screwed.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll get all sorted out.
Yeah, it'll just take some time. But yeah, that's...
Let's see, though. The dude gave me a fucking ticket, though.
Yeah.
That's just more points on my license.
But, yeah, it's not like you knew or anything. But, yeah, that's why why our podcast didn't air Monday. We had a little bit of some shit going on, but it wasn't that bad. We got it going tonight, and topics tonight are just mainly going to be about guns. We're going to talk some shit about some guns, and we're going to talk about bullets mainly. Or a lot about bullets and just like where we came from in like what we're at now with bullet technology. Like, you know, we started with just a round ball, and just a little. God damn it! Get out of here! You are distracting the hell out of me.
Yes.
All right. Where were we in this? I've completely lost all my train of thought. Thanks. All right, we good now. We good.
Yes, we're good now.
All right. So what we're gonna talk about, as I was saying, we got we're gonna talk about bullets a lot. We're gonna talk about different kinds of guns that we have now, and different ones that we used to have, and like where we came from with it. And so I guess firstly I want to start in on like how we started with just a round ball. That was all we had, just a lead ball, and we had flintlock guns or muzzleloading guns, which was just you put the powder down, in the barrel, and
There was a paper you pushed down too, wasn't there?
yeah,
Was that underneath the ball?
yeah. So you would
Okay.
put the powder in there, and a lot of times they just put it like in a rolled up piece of paper. So they had like paper slugs, kind of, that they would kind of just break open and throw down into the barrel. You'd take your stick and tap it down, and then
Yeah.
then you'd press your ball down, and then the flint on your powder pan, which you'd have to put some powder on that. When it would spark, the spark would throw into the powder. It would feed through and just be an explosion. It was just a handheld explosion,
Yeah.
and we'd just shoot this.
Which are
lead-
still what guns are today, technically.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
100%.
basics
But
of it.
it's yeah, and so it would just be a round ball compared to the pointy bullets that we have now, and it was just flying down a straight bored tube. And they were accurate, kinda. They like, you could get some accurate ones. There was nothing like what there was today.
They weren't consistent.
No, not at all. That's the main thing. They weren't consistent, but they were used to hunt with. They were used to survive in the wild. Defend yourselves and all that. And then they slowly started figuring out different ways to make it more accurate, make it more dependable. And they started with, one of the first things is they twisted the barrel. And what that does is just puts a spin on the bullet. And with a round ball, it just shot so much more accurate. It wasn't blown around all over the place. It made it just fly truer and straighter. And one of the first guns to do that was with the Kentucky long rifle. And that gun was brought out in the Civil War time. And the South used it mainly, and they were so accurate with it. So just putting that simple twist on the barrel, they would just carve a groove into the barrel and twist it, and just putting that simple carve onto it, you could shoot. Before was like 200 yards was max probably. With these guns accurately. Like you could lob bullets all day, probably farther, but accurately was 200 yards max. And now they were shooting 500 to 600 yards accurately, like picking off guys through the fields. They would just be hanging up in the trees or whatever, and they were shooting accurately, dropping guys from that far, which also brought about our first marksmen and our snipers. But so just putting that small little thing onto it changed the game up completely changed everything. Then they slowly started figuring out that if they narrowed the bullet, it would fly better too,
More aerodynamic.
Yeah, more aerodynamic. It flew better. They just started putting points on them, and that slowly started coming along with shell casings slowly started coming along too. And so what the shell casing basically was just everything you were doing with the muzzleloader. They just basically put it in a water sealed tube, and the entire mechanism was just in that shell. So you could just, not only could you shoot more than once, you could just carry a bunch of ammo with you, load fast. It was just way more efficient just to have the entire thing all in one little shell that you put into your gun and work the action, and like it's just all fed off of the shell. And it had your percussion cap, which your firing pin, when you fire the gun, it strikes that percussion cap and then explodes the powder that's in the shell, and then sends the bullet down. And so they, that came around too, real fast. And it just completely changed the game because, like,
plus with the spiraled barrels, it made it even more accurate.
Insanely more accurate, and so they that came along because one of the things that they were doing with like I'll go back into shotguns, kind of, which how they would load muzzle-loaded shotguns is they would just put random shit in it half the time. Like they would put rock salt in that shit, load it up. They would just put rocks in it. You know, you could put whatever you wanted. Some nails sometimes. They didn't give a shit. There was nothing. You just put your powder in there and then just dumped shit on there, whatever you wanted, rock salt, whatever, and you tamped it down. But then, you know, you ran into the problem is that shit could run out your barrel if you were tipping it one way or another, or anything but up, really. It would run out your barrel. And so that's also something that the shell stopped, is that it was all in that one case. It was just one thing. You didn't have to worry about tipping it up and down. Plus, it was a waterproof shell. Your powder never got wet anymore. Never had to worry about that anymore. Completely changed the game up. And then going into kind of the bullets themselves, that is where it just completely just took off in its own category, just the bullets alone. So what they would do, they figured out that they could make the bullets out of different materials. It would impact different, it would fly different, everything about it would be different, and they would change these, just the individual bullet up for each like thing that they wanted to kill. Like if you wanted to really penetrate something, you had more of a solid lead bullet that wasn't jacketed. And jacketing is where they would just take copper and go around the bullet with it, around the lead shell, and you know the jacketing would fragment off into different ways depending on how it was made. You know,
Right.
in doing that, you could do so many different things with the same round. And so a lot of people are like, "Oh, these big guns, you know, they shoot or kick hard and everything. It's a, you know, this is a big gun. Obviously, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna kick more." It isn't necessarily true, because with the same bullet, so a 50 caliber bullet, what that means is that that's the diameter of that bullet. That does not mean what everyone assumes it to be is just this machine gun. Like when you hear 50 cal, people think of machine gun, you know, or a sniper rifle, a big bullet. Well, no, they have 50 caliber muzzleloaders too. It's just
I shot one of those before.
Yeah, it's just the diameter of the bullet, and it's not like a 50 cal machine gun that just mowing stuff. You know,
No.
could shoot for miles. It's just that diameter of the bullet is all that means. And so they started experimenting with that. They said, okay, what's the different thicknesses of bullets do? You know, we're going to narrow this one up. We're going to slender this one. We're going to make it longer. All of them making them fly differently.
Right.
Completely fly differently.
Also making the impact differently, too.
Exactly. The impact was way different. You know, obviously a big old 50 cal bullet hitting something is going to hit with more velocity, you know, just way more velocity out of it. It's just going to be an explosion, basically.
It's going to take your arm off.
Oh, yeah. Nowadays, yeah, for sure. It'll mess stuff up compared to a simple 22 caliber bullet, which is, you know, this big, and a 50 cal's this big.
Right.
So they changed things up so much with just the size alone. They started figuring out, you know, we're going to, you know, change the links up, all this stuff. And then they got into the powder. The powders of the bullet could change everything too. Not could, it does. It changes everything. I can take, and a perfect example of this is a .357 Magnum pistol. It at one point was the most powerful handgun on earth. At one point, I want to say back in the 60s, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But at one point, it was the most powerful handgun, right? So I can take that same gun, and I can change the powder of it up to where you think it's a pea shooter. The same gun, just changing with the powder. I'll take the same gun and the same bullet, even same casing, same primer, everything. Just by changing out the powder, I can change how fast that powder burns. If it's more of an explosion, a slow burn, it changes the velocity of it all up too, like how fast that thing's coming out of the barrel. So, that was a just complete game changer too. They decide, with
There's just so many variables that go into.
It's
simple mechanism where it just pulls the trigger to make a little explosion to shoot.
Exactly. They've really completely looked into almost every detail of the science, but behind how we can make these things more accurate.
Obviously, you'd want them because we'd want the most advanced technology.
Technology. The first thing to advance is always weaponry.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to get at with these topics is that all this happened. What was it, like 150 years ago? We were using muskets. Like that was the weapon 150 years ago.
And now we got guided bullets.
Now we have guided bullets.
Laser cannons on Navy ships.
We have laser cannons. When was that one installed? Do you happen to remember? It was a few years ago.
I think it might be 2016.
Do you have that? Know. Do you have a video of that, or have anything of that up? Let's pull that up. Actually, the laser gunship. So I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but this is some crazy shit. Let's just show what we have now. And like I said, just like 100, 200 years ago max, we had muskets in, powder that would get wet, all this stuff. This is a laser that they had mounted.
Operationally, it works just like a laser pointer. There's a chamber inside with special materials that release photons.
That's an Xbox controller.
If you're looking at a boat coming over the water, you can target exactly the engine and take out exactly the engine and not necessarily damage anything else. So, and that type of precision weapon work is something that you don't really get with conventional weapons because there tends to be more collateral damage.
Exactly.
It's useful against a variety of threats, surface or air. It's not a niche weapon system like some other weapons that we have, throughout the military, where it's only good against air contacts or it's only good against surface targets.
Attach them to like fighter jets and stuff like that. AC-130s.
They already have.
I'm sure they have, and they're testing it.
They have a plane that flies out. I don't remember. It's one of the fastest planes, and it has a laser on the plane that is designed to target nuclear weapons or nuclear missiles when they're flying through the air. So they can launch this plane and target the nukes before they hit cities, but with a laser. Like, say, what laser weapon system?
I don't know how far it can shoot.
Well, that boat looked pretty decently far off.
I mean, I'm sure it's a good distance. It literally travels at the speed of light. It's a laser.
It's a click of a button.
Like, you can buy lasers that can shoot all the way up to literally airplanes in the skies. That's why they tell you not to shoot them up there when they're like that powerful, is because they can blind people because they're powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they can go a good distance.
I'm sure of it, and that's just a crazy thing to think about it. Like you said, we're
just a few hundred, or
in the short
century and a half or 2 centuries
basically,
ago.
We evolved. We evolved from a one-shot gun that would maybe go off, maybe
hit.
Yeah, maybe hit.
Now they're completely accurate because we got laser-guided fucking 50 cal bullets.
Yeah, that's another thing. Let's pull that up. So
I did find a video earlier.
So what we one thing, going into the 50 cal and it's such a big round that you can do all kinds of different things with it. You can there's so much room in there, and technology so small that you can do different things with it. And so 50 cal round is one of the most experimented rounds of trying different things with it, because like I say, it's enough room in there where they can really put a lot of technology into that round.
Well, they're massive, and they can get massive.
And so this is just one of the things that they're doing with a round of the 50 cal. It's a laser guided bullet.
Yes, or something like that.
For Complex News, I'm Hanuman Welch. And if you needed one more reason to be terrified of the military advances being made by the United States Department of Defense and DARPA, allow us to introduce the X-Acto. It might look like that neck massager your mom keeps in the nightstand, but it's actually a 50 caliber bullet that can change direction mid-air. This is what a 50 caliber bullet looks like.
Not the first time I didn't catch it.
And this is what they shoot like. And now you'll be able to hit your target with laser precision, even if your aim is a little off. So I guess that's the end of seeing headlines like this, right? The Extreme Accuracy Tasked Ordnance Weapon is able to completely shift its trajectory thanks to fins built into the shell that essentially turn every bullet into a baby missile. Wonderful. DARPA, as I'm sure you all know, is the shadowy government agency responsible for helping launch the internet alongside bleeding-edge military projects like battlefield robots and exosuits. And based on some of the X-Acto for DARPA, who released a video.
It was
showing the high-tech bullet being fired deliberately off target, then swinging back and hitting the target. Jesus, that's like something out of Harry Potter.
So he shot it purposely off trajectory, and it completely swung completely around and hit the point that the laser was pointed on. Now, I don't know how far off, I don't know if you can shoot this damn thing in another direction. And it'll come around. But that alone is just impressive because...
I think I watched this earlier. This shows a moving target, I believe. Maybe not.
Okay.
I guess this is a different test, though.
So that's where he was aiming, the red one, but the green one is where he...
Yeah, Teledyne said too. Oh, there's not. And DARPA, yes. That's not the one I watched earlier. It showed one of a moving target. It showed one of an expert shooting multiple bullets, and then one of a person who's never shot one before shoot it. But it still hit the target because it was a laser-guided missile and everything. I think it was off, like it hit his shoulder instead of like his torso or head or something when the beginner did it. But like still, like it still went off course and hit the dude.
It wouldn't have hit him
and he was still on the run also on the video I watched.
Yeah, so like going from completely missing the guy, this guy still hit him, and the guy would still be out of action. No matter, which is crazy because, snipers, they have to worry about all these different things to actually be pinpoint accurate. They have to hit that point that they're aiming at.
Worry about wind and, like, they're just their whole environment.
When you get far enough, you have to worry about the rotation of the Earth or the curve of the Earth. That's crazy when they're reaching out there that far. That's nuts.
But now we got laser-guided baby missiles.
To where, and... I doubt that they get too crazy with this because I'm sure one of those things is expensive. But, like, that's why they're only using them probably for sniper rifles and not just like a pistol.
I'm sure maybe one day they'll figure it out, though.
Oh, yeah.
But then that'll be a game changer, too, because just being able to have a bullet just fly through space and just target someone around the corner, just some crazy shit like that.
But it's basically a missile. It's a missile. Yeah. That's what missiles do. Which is nuts. It's nuts that we're firing that out of a regular gun that I can buy. I can go buy that gun.
You probably can't buy bullets.
No, I'm sure I can't get the bullet, but like that's crazy that I can own that gun and still, that would just be crazy to have. And what's some other things that I wanted to get into here? So, let's talk about some stun guns here. Did you look into stun guns too much?
No, not.
That's fine. I know some stuff about stun guns. So that's another thing that is just developed so rapidly, so fast, so quick. Is they're like, all right, how can we stop somebody with a gun, or basically a gun, but not, or as effectively as shooting them? you know, if you shoot if you shoot someone, they're gonna be done, obviously. But
They're hanging up.
what?
I said they're hanging up.
Where?
The jewels.
Oh, there it is.
I know what you're saying about 'em.
But yeah, so they were wanting to figure out how can we stop somebody as effectively as killing them. You know, obviously you kill them, they're going to be stopped, but they don't want to kill people. You know, they're like,
Right.
all right, how can we do this safer? We want to make it safer. So they were put in so much technology into stun guns, and you know, most obvious example of a stun gun is a taser. You know, it shoots the probes into you with the wires attached to you, sends the electric into you, and it'll stop you, tightens your muscles up, and you're done most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
They also went into a lot of technology with the shotgun round. That's another big round that there's a lot of room in there that they can do a lot of shit with. One of the things they did is they took the taser. Look up this. It's the taser shotgun round. So they took the technology of the taser and they put it into a shotgun, like a slug. So now they took out the that's it. They took out the range of a conventional taser. I don't remember the exact range of it. Of a regular taser, but it's feet, right? You know, it's not that far. The cables can only go so far. But with this new taser round that you can shoot out of a shotgun,
max of 35 feet, and then some are available. To consumers for only 15 feet.
But the
they can go
maximum length is 35 feet, which is so close. You're getting so close. At that point, you're basically taking out the point of using a gun.
Yeah.
The gun's purpose is to step back and shoot. You know, you can pick something off from a distance. That's a gun's purpose. So on what this taser can do is it takes out the cables or being attached to the gun. So you can shoot this projectile. Go up. Can you enlarge this picture of it somehow?
No.
Well, that didn't do it. But so this, all right, yeah, that'll work. So what this does is it shoots this taser out. When it hits the probes here, the probes right there will stick you, and then the back end detaches. When it detaches, it has a battery on that thing, and the cables will come out. And when that does, it engages the battery and tases you. So, like I said, they took out the range effectiveness of the regular conventional taser. Now they can shoot these things from pretty far away, and accurately. It's a bullet. They can shoot it pretty accurately. And so basically in a hostage situation, instead of having to get the perfect shot in the two probes that go wherever the fuck they want, they can now almost pinpoint accurately hit a guy basically anywhere, and he will go down just as effective. So that's a nuts thing that they're doing with the shotgun. I mean, there's also the beanbag rounds that they shoot out of the shotgun.
For a pump action, it's 100 feet.
It's 100 feet, which is, the 35 feet? That's nuts. That's nuts. It's so much
15's only available to, like, non-law enforcement, like the public, regular people. But they do have cartridges for, like, 35 feet, which would be for, like, police.
Oh, these are just what we could buy.
Yeah, 15's the max is what is available to, like, people. But
that's
35
crazy. I didn't
for, like,
even know you could buy them.
Like that. Yeah.
I didn't even know you couldn't get these rounds.
No, that's just a regular taser I was talking about. The shotgun goes up to 100 feet. I don't know if you can buy those.
Okay.
I doubt it.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. That was my bad. But that's just one thing. Also, they did the beanbag rounds or the rubber bullets.
That's a 12 gauge too.
Non-penetrating rounds is basically what those are. And so you're getting hit with all the velocity of a 12 gauge round, but it just doesn't penetrate you. It's like getting punched by a 12 gauge, and so it'll drop people.
I'm sure it is. Plus, I don't know how many volts it is.
Oh, the taser? I was talking about the beanbags, but the taser will drop people.
Oh, I'm sure
it is.
Both of them
I want to say it's just as
I've seen
effective.
videos on both of those.
It's just
funny to watch.
Yeah, it's nuts. So, not only do we have that, we have the weapon. I want to say that it's a military weapon. It's a sonar or not sonar. It's a sonic weapon, where they send out this crazy wavelength hearing thing. It's like a massive noise that just shatters eardrums, and just it's a weapon, but or a crowd dispenser. Like you point that into a crowd and you really mess everyone up. They have all the the tear gas, all that stuff. All these things are like stun weapons, which is just crazy that just from, like I said, we started from just the ball in the powder, and now we have an entire new branch of shit just from that. Like, we were like, okay, we want to have all the effectiveness of the stopping power, but we don't want to kill people. We want non-penetrating. We want, non-killing rounds. And so that they just went an entire branch off of just the bullets. Just the bullets that they're using the same guns, same everything. They're just, with that bullet, they can now do that. They can now not kill you, but still accurately put you down.
Oh, yeah.
And
so what kind of guns have you shot? What are all the types and different types inside the...
So, I got a long list of guns that I've shot. It'd be hard to name them all off.
What are some of the more fun ones? What's your favorite type of gun?
My favorite type of gun would have to be a lever action rifle. I'm an old school, I guess. I just, there's something about shooting a lever action gun, which a lever action gun, it's the old cowboy guns that you have the action and you work the action forward and back, and that's how you shuck your shells and all that. That's my favorite kind of gun, because I don't know, it's just something about it. Nothing like working the action and shooting, and you can dang near be as fast as someone with a semi-automatic gun, which is one that you just pull the trigger. Is made as fast as you can pull the trigger, as fast as you can shoot. It's almost that fast, but you just gotta work the action and pull the trigger super fast, so you can still shoot it pretty fast, and they're super accurate. And I just like older guns, and a lot of older guns are lever actions.
I feel you. I'm big in the sniper rifles.
I
just
love
like
sniper
shooting
rifles.
like that for just distance to see how accurate I can get with them and stuff. But I mean, like, I still love going up to a range with like a fucking M4 or something and just blasting away at the fucking target. Yeah. But sniper rifles, I just like the best, because then it's like a competition too. You can do with your friends to see who can be the most accurate with it.
Exactly.
I've done it with my family. I've shot guns all my life. I grew up with a family of rednecks, so I mean, we've had guns around forever.
Yeah,
since I'm alive.
That's one of the things I joke about with my family is I'm like, what? I wonder what normal families do on like a family reunion, because what we do is we line our backyard up with tables full of guns, and we just shoot all day. We eat food and then we go shoot. That's our family reunion.
We've done that for some of them. We go out and shoot back in some of the property that we have, or my grandparents own. It's a lot of fun though, going back there and shooting.
Can you pull up on whatever computer is now on the screen of the comments on the YouTube? But so yeah, I've been shooting guns since as long as I can remember, to be honest. I've always had guns in my hands. I mean not literally like I was a baby walking around with guns and just shooting everything, but obviously my dad taught me gun safety, and I couldn't go and use a gun unless he was there. But I was always loved shooting. Always shooting anything I could, any gun I could. So any chance I could shoot a gun is, I would do it. So I don't even know the list of guns that I've shot.
Oh, we got a question from Kane Stellar.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
How has military technology changed warfare, or has it? Well, I feel like obviously it has. Definitely, with just laser-guided missiles themselves can change tactics.
Yeah. It's what changed. It's what
laser weapons does, because then they're silent and invisible, and I'm sure they can shoot at a large distance.
Exactly, and so to go into Kane's question, how has it changed? Military style. Well, military changed weaponry is what really happened. Like we were saying, the first technology to advance is military weapons. That has always been our top priority.
Yeah, because it's a safety thing. We want to be on top of that, so we have the best advantage we can get.
Exactly. So that's always the thing advancing. And so, how has it changed everything? Is, like I was saying, how we branched off from all these things. We branched from just the musket and ball. We branched off into so many different things. We branched off into stun weapons. We branched off into missiles. We branched off into artillery that can shoot for miles. We can shoot cities from miles away with artillery shells. Just the artillery shells alone, we can make them explode. We can make them do all these things. So, how specifically has it changed it? Or I guess the most one way it changed everything was how fast we can shoot. They changed how fast we can shoot, and that was a major.
The
magazine size is the style of the gun. How can we shoot it faster? So even back when we had the cap and balls, they brought about the Gatling gun, which was basically had these cartridges. They weren't the traditional shell that we have, but they were close to it. And they had them in these gravity-fed magazines. They would stick this magazine down onto this, I think it was a 6-barrel spinning Gatling gun. And every time a barrel would come up to that magazine, it would fire that round. And as you're rotating it, it fires the other one. And so each time it comes around, you're firing. And so that alone brought an entire new change to the weaponry. They figured out, okay, we can shoot fast as hell now. We can mow things down with this thing. Compared to shooting one round a minute is fast as shit. One a minute, super fast. Compared to, we're shooting hundreds now. We can just do this. Like, what are you doing over there? You're still loading, and I done slung 100 rounds.
Right.
That is one of the biggest things that changed it. And so when they figured that out, they wanted to figure out more efficient ways and ways to use the cartridges. So they changed up, there's so many different actions of guns, but I guess I would go into semi-automatic guns. And what that does is when you fire the round, the gas from the round and the pressure from the round pulls the bolt back, cycles around, ejects it, and then the spring that it comes back on cycles the next round. That's why you can shoot so fast. So as fast as you can pull the trigger is as fast as it's going, because it's a split second that it cycles around. And then, I would say that semi-automatic guns is a spring off from fully automatic, obviously.
Right.
They did that first. So how can we just hold this down and just keep shooting? Well, they figured that out pretty fast. They're like, I just want to hold this trigger down and just keep shooting the whole time. They figured that out super fast. All right, we're using the gas of the shell still. And then they figured out that they don't have to do it like that. And they brought about the minigun, where they can just spin it in there and they just shoot it 10 times faster. It's just as fast as like the bullets can go. And they're spring loaded. It's just as fast as you can sling. Or they're not spring loaded, they're fed, but it's insane how fast that was a definite technology era of the military.
Just changing the speed of all the guns changed probably everything, because then they had to change the style of the gun, the most efficient way to shoot a bullet.
And also what they had to do is since you're shooting so fast, they had to change how the guns were made. They had to completely change all that, because when you're shooting that fast, your guns get hot. So they had to figure out ways to cool the gun, keep the guns cool. So they had water-cooled barrels, that were just water around the barrel basically, and it would cool it. That was the most effective. Then they would open them up. They would have basically like the whole barrel would be out there, and it was more aero, like it had more surface area, so that wind cooled it easier since it had more surface area. Brought about the MG42 was one of the craziest guns, because they could change the barrels out on it. So, this one's hot, throw it on the ground, let it cool, put another one in, and we're still shooting. Compared to the other guys that have to wait, they're peeing on their barrels to keep it cool. They're doing everything they can to get back shooting. And that was another change. They had to change everything. So they would also bring about, at the end of the barrel, they had gas release. That would also help keep the barrels cooler and keep the gun cooler, because when it gets hot like that, your bullets are going everywhere. It changes how you shoot. When your gun's super hot, it's inaccurate anymore. Not to mention, the hotter you get it, the more damage you're doing permanently to your gun, because it's warping the metal. It's doing all this stuff. There was a video I seen one time. It was this American troop guy. He's like, "How do you fry bacon in America?" And he had a fully automatic gun.
Just wrapped bacon around.
Yeah, he wrapped bacon around his suppressor and just frying bacon. But that's been a problem since we figured out how to shoot fast. How can we keep these guns cool, especially in places like Afghanistan and desert places where it's 110 degrees all the time, basically.
Right. Yeah. So there was one type of bullet technology I want to talk about, was the RIP bullet, the radically invasive projectile, which you mentioned. It was a cool idea, but then you mentioned that I never noticed was it's very inaccurate because of the way it was made.
Yeah, pull it up. I didn't realize that this was what it was.
Projectile-based weaponry has been a standard of combat always free hollow point. Now we have a new revolutionary bullet, the radically invasive projectile. This round is a CNC machined, solid copper, lead-free projectile designed to maximize the dissipation of energy through any object it strikes. The main difference is a projectile capable of ripping through various materials, including
let's see what it does.
Denim, wood, auto glass, sheetrock, cinder block,
impacts,
sheet metal, and multiple
all the
layers of
little
denim.
pins or whatever they're called, and they scatter.
Upon impact, the base of the projectile begins to force through the individual trocar joints, which separate from the projectile and spread through the target, creating maximum trauma through multiple wound channels without any reduction to the penetration of the primary slug. Trauma and when fired against a car windshield set to FBI ammunition review specifications, the velocity of the round was only reduced from 1,300 feet per second to 1,051 feet per second, demonstrating an excellent conservation of speed. After passing through glass, however, the trocars were flattened and unable to break off, which essentially turned the bullet into a full metal jacket round, still capable of achieving lethal penetration. The sheer stopping power and lethality of the RIP cartridge makes it an ideal ammunition.
So that actually gives me some ideas to talk about. So, in what changing the bullet style, like that was saying, is where
we can also talk about hollow point too.
That's actually what I'm getting into. What changing that can do, how it impacts, so they put a divot into it, which makes it a hollow point. I don't have any bullets here, but it's basically it's the regular bullet, but like I said, they just put a divot into it, and what that can do,
like that.
There you go.
I just wanted to see a picture. There we go.
Yeah, and so what putting that divot does is when it impacts, it expands way more. And so that doesn't seem like a crazy thing to do, but it is a complete game changer. So what it does is it increases the area that is just blown apart. Like when it hits, it's just a pinhole. But an exit wound of a hollow point is like the size of your fist. I've shot varmint groundhogs, and just with the changing of the bullets, I can, with the same gun, I can put a round in there that will just penetrate right through it. It'll just be a hole in and a hole out, almost the same size, a little bit bigger, obviously. I can take the same gun, I'll put a hollow point round in it. It'll be a pinpoint hole, and then the other half of the animal will be gone. Like it won't be there anymore. That's what just changing up a simple divot.
I feel like
that
was kind of what the rip bullet is, where when it impacts, then the impact is just one hole, but the out.
Exactly, that's exactly what.
I feel like it didn't really explode it, but it made it. The rip bullet didn't really explode it. Maybe like a hollow point would, but it was more. It was more like shrapnel, just kind of flying out.
So basically, what the rip bullet
I think there's
would
8
do,
of them.
the idea of it is that it's a hollow point, but only they put the slits all the way down in the bullet, and so when it impacts, it has the initial impact. The slug will go clear through. The slug keeps going straight.
Right.
But each impact, it basically turns that one bullet into like 5 or 6 bullets. Each one branches off into its own little thing.
That's kind of what the rip bullet. That is what the rip bullet.
That's what it does. It's supposed to shard off and make several other bullets. It's basically a concentrated shotgun blast. Is basically what it is. It's you're taking the spread of a shotgun, but you're waiting until it impact to have that spread. That's what the idea of it was. The only thing with it is it's a not very accurate of a round. It flies weird.
The hollow point?
No, the hollow points are very accurate.
Rip then?
Yeah, the rip. It's not a super accurate round. It's not as aerodynamic. It flies weird. But if you're hit by it, it is effective.
Yeah, it does what its job when it impacts.
Yeah, you just seen the video.
It just has to get
the
there.
Impact. Yeah, but so it is effective round. It's just if they can figure out how to make it more accurate and fly a little bit better, it would just be a game changer, which it basically already is.
I'm sure they've experimented with many different other types of bullets we don't even know about. Like do crazy things.
Oh yeah.
I don't know many more different bullet designs. I'm not that well knowledge into weapons. And
pull up Hornady varmint grenades.
Is that on YouTube?
You just type it in. It'll
Hornet.
Maybe pull up images. Hornady
like that.
Yeah. Varmint grenades.
Varmint. Like that. Grenade.
Varmint grenades. There you go. Pull ups. Or yeah, I guess pull up a. Yeah, that is actually perfect.
This?
No, it's not any of those.
What?
The varmint grenade. Yeah, play that video. So this is on Hornady's website. Is it really just a video of it just spinning around?
Oh, and it shows. Is that what it does? When it impacts?
So I don't know if I've ever seen the exact impact of it, but it basically it is meant to be a super fast expanding round. Like it expands quicker than almost any other round. And so they call it a grenade because it's basically like an explosion. So it impacts and just blows shit up.
Barnes doesn't make only all-copper bullets. The Varmint grenade is a new lead-free varmint bullet that gives explosive results. Originally composite core greatly reduces the chance of ricochets.
Actually,
the new flat base hollow cavity bullet
remains the beginning where he's talking about this. Let's hear the specs of it.
Grenade is a new lead-free varmint bullet that gives explosive results. Originally developed for military applications, the bullet has a copper tin composite core. This highly frangible core greatly reduces the chance of ricochets.
That's what I use it for.
The new flat base hollow cavity bullet remains.
God damn it.
So we'll do. Our family does we used to go kind of every other year, or tried to, but I don't know how many times I've went now. But we'll go out west, out to like Wyoming or those states, and we'll shoot prairie dogs. And so we loaded some of them varmint grenades because that's what they're for, is like varmints, like those kind of animals, just to really fuck them up and explode them. And when you're shooting prairie dogs, that's what you're doing anyways. You're shooting them with high-powered guns from far away, and you're just watching them vaporize and flip through the air. And the varmint grenade does it pretty damn well, like almost too well. Like there's some times where you'll just see blood. Like it'll just be a vapor of blood, and that's it. You're like, the prairie dog was there, and then it's just vapor of blood. It's like you see those videos of like some bird just getting shot by something. It's just feathers. Well, that's what it was, only with blood, is what those things will do. And like I said, it just expand so fast, and that it's like an explosion. And different hollow points can do that. So different hollow points, they make it to where they penetrate so far and then expand, or they make the grenades that almost expand just immediately when it hit. They just explode basically. Hence the name varmint grenades. They're an awesome round, and so that's going to be a spin-off into what I was going to talk about next. So it's crazy that we can reload ammo. So like the average guy can load ammo. And what that means is like all this technology that we just talked about, all these things we can do with bullets, I can do at home, and I do at home.
Yeah, same.
And so like that's what's crazy to me, is like I can do everything that I'm talking about. All these bullets that we're talking about, I could reload at home. There's stuff out there I can buy. Not just stuff. There's just so much out there. You can go to local stores. You don't even need a license. You don't need a license in Indiana at all. You can just buy this stuff because it's not a round. I can go buy bullets. I think you got to be a certain age for the powder. I think 18.
Probably.
At least 18 for the powder. And I can buy the primers, all this. I can buy the shells, all this stuff, all the equipment I need to make all this stuff. And I can go and make live ammunition, and I can put all this variancy into a single round that I'm making. So, say I want to take the same round and I want to kill a deer with it. I make I change the powder up. I change how the bullet is, and I make it more of a solid bullet for penetrating. Or say I want to take the same gun and I want to go shoot prairie dogs this year. I'm going to load up varmint grenades in this, change the powder up, change everything up, and I'm just exploding prairie dogs with this thing. It's crazy that I can just go at home and do this. I just had a thought. I just lost it. Oh, what was I going to say? I think it was about the powder. And, damn it, I lost it.
But we can go into scopes, sniper rifle scopes.
Oh yeah,
scopes
yeah.
And just general iron sights.
That's another thing that changed with bullets. The further we reached out there, the further we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So just even at the start of the Civil War, they're shooting 500 yards with iron sights.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a scope.
That'd be difficult.
They didn't have a scope, and they were doing it accurately, which is nuts. So, they're reaching out there, and they're like, I can't see shit. I can shoot it, though. If I can just see it better, I can hit it and, be more accurate. So then they brought about scopes. They started putting scopes on guns. The first scopes were horrible, really. They just slowly started getting a lot better. And now to what they are now. I can never think of the name of this, but one thing that a lot of goes into scope work is the I can't remember what it's called. I wish my brother was here. He would know. But it's where you have your crosshairs of your scope, and you're looking through it, and the gun is completely still. The gun's still. You're not moving the gun at all, but you're moving your eye. And in the crosshairs, the crosshairs will move with you, but the gun's not moving. It's moving on the target. I can't remember the specific term for it, but that is one thing that they're still working on with scopes. It's an inaccuracy of scopes. And so bad, cheap scopes have this really bad. Good, expensive ones like Leupold, they've really narrowed this technology down to where that doesn't move at all. And so when you're holding a gun up, you're thinking you're moving around looking through the scope, but really you could just be moving your eye, and it's the inaccuracy of the scope. And that's one thing that's really came around a lot, because the first guns had it horrible. They were basically just like a binoculars, practically, that were damn near sharply drawn with an X on there, almost. Like, it was almost that bad. Not really quite that bad, but they were accurate. They did their part. But they slowly started evolving, and what they used to be real long ass things, like almost as long as the gun, because that's how even telescopes and all this stuff, they would space all these things out. You could really do them, and they were fixed sights. Fixed sights meaning like there was no zoom in, zoom out on the scope. It was that power of the scope. So like, say it's 6 times more powerful than the eye. That's all you got. And so they would fix these scopes on things, and which kind of sucked, because now we can just turn a variable zoom scope, and we can turn it, say I want to shoot something close up, I'm turn it back, and now I got a more close picture, like it's not as zoomed in, so I got more of the scope in my line of sight. Or if I'm shooting way far away, I can zoom it way in. That's something crazy that they are bringing about. They brought about how, so when you shoot the gun, the recoil of the gun doesn't move your scope off anymore. It used to bad. So you would get like one accurate shot, and then it would kind of move a little or start walking one way or another. That's something that it's really getting around a lot more too, and the scopes are getting smaller and smaller. We now have night vision and infrared scopes, and so not only can we see that from that far away, just with the naked eye, we're not even using the naked eye anymore. We're making them night vision, which is a lot of fun for hunting, because coyote hunting at dark, it's the best time to coyote hunt. And you can now see the coyotes running in. Clearly, and obviously, this was invented for warfare, though. They obviously was wanting to see in the dark, so they brought about night vision scopes onto weapons.
See, there's just so many variables of guns. Like, then you got the bolt technology, the design of the gun,
everything,
the scope, the design of the barrel, the magazine. You got like the night vision scope, and all the physics that go into making the glass and stuff for the scopes, and being able to see an outside. There's just so much that goes into it.
So many variables of what guns used to be and what they are today.
They were so much simpler then. Now they're so complex, but they have to be.
They are so complex, because just a simple gun before could just hit that, strike the striker and shoot a spark into a plate. That is all it did. Now we can do so much with just the gun itself. So let's set aside the bullet topic for a little bit. Let's just talk just what I can do with a gun alone. I can change up one major thing, which a lot of people don't think is that crazy, is the trigger pull. I can lighten a trigger pull up, which means that it takes less of a pullback onto the trigger for it to go off.
More like it'd be like a hair trigger.
Yeah, hair trigger, which is basically what a hair trigger is it has this little pull up image of a hair trigger.
I used to have them on my scuff controllers. Why I go there? Why is it doing that? all my scuff controllers when I used to play like competitive Call of Duty and stuff. I used to have hair triggers on there.
I've never even heard of that. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that's a controller for guns.
Look up images. Just Google search images of them. I'll find one. And so what just the hair trigger alone will do is it, without disassembling the gun at all, I can lighten up the trigger pull just by basically pushing the trigger forward. I have an image right there. That's it. Yeah. And so what it is it's a little slot like this in the trigger. And like I said, you'll push the trigger forward, that slot will come forward, and basically it just makes the trigger a lot more easy to go off. So now you're pulling on this, and it's an easier click of the trigger. And what that does is it makes it 10 times more accurate to shoot, because now you're taking out the variable because we have to be more accurate because we can reach farther out now. Reach way farther out. So literally the slightest movement, if you bump your arm one way or another, you will be off at just even 200 yards. You won't even hit the target. And so lightening up the trigger pull takes out one variable. So when you're pulling back on the trigger, you don't want a hard one when you're reaching out far. You don't want a hard pull, because now you're moving the gun more. It's more like, I don't know where it's going to shoot. So lightening it up, because you can disassemble a trigger in any gun most of the time, and you can get a trigger job done and getting it lighted up, toned down. And most of our hunting rifles, we did do that because we reach out there and shoot prairie dogs with it. And so, and some of them have hair triggers, and most people would be like, well, that's dangerous. Well, it is, but it's not for like that hand carry gun. I don't know why they would put that's crazy to me that they put a hair trigger on. I would never do that. There's no point for it, because I feel like I'm just going to be accurate enough to hit what I can reach with a pistol.
Well, plus with a pistol, you're not supposed to be at a long range distance. You're supposed to be at a closer distance.
Exactly.
So therefore,
that's what I was saying.
A slight movement's not going to throw you off that much.
Exactly.
Therefore, you wouldn't need a hair trigger. That would be kind of more dangerous, because you'd be in more close quarters. Therefore, there'd be a lot more of just movement.
Exactly.
So
it could go off way quicker.
You can hurt yourself or a fellow teammate or wherever it may be.
Mm-hmm. They're made for rifles. It's not a pistol thing. Like I've never actually seen one on a pistol until just now, but that's what they were for. Is it lightens up the trigger, and different guns are more accurate. So a bolt action or a single shot gun is more accurate than a fully automatic gun, and basically part of the reason for that is it closes up tighter. This is it's a closed up thing. It's not cycling all this stuff really fast. It's all closed up. It's tight. It's tighter, and so it's more of a controlled explosion, even more so than the fully automatic, which is just meant to cycle shells. So a single shot rifle is more accurate, and that's just like a few things that we can do with guns. We can also change up, like just with ARs, we can change up. They don't. They made them illegal now, but you used to be able to have a bump stock gun, and I shouldn't have got into bump stocks, but look up a bump stock gun. I shouldn't have even got into it. I don't know enough about it. Or bump fire, yeah.
Is it bump fire? It's actually using the recoil of a semi-automatic firearm to fire shots in a rapid succession, which simulates the ability of a fully automatic. So I see why they made them legal, because
it should have been illegal. Yeah. Honestly, it should have been illegal. So basically what it used to be is basically you could take a regular AR-15 that I can build. You can buy fully assembled. You don't have to build them, but it could take that and make it into a fully automatic gun, basically. I don't know the exact science or physics behind how it worked, but that's pretty much how it would do it. And so, like, basically a civilian could have a fully automatic weapon legally is what it was. And so then they made it legal after some shootings and bad stuff. But that's just another thing that you can do with it. You can change the recoil up of your gun, completely change it up. Not only with the powder, the recoil of the gun, a huge difference is your powder. If you have a Magnum powder, if you have something that's meant to have more velocity, it's going to kick more. But I can change it up with recoil pads. I can change it up with spring stocks. So like the stock will move into it, and so I can shoot a high-powered round, high Magnum round, and with almost little to no recoil on it at all. And that's another thing. They're really changing how the gun recoils. So a big example of this is the A12, the Auto 12, the fully automatic 12 gauge. It kicks, but it's such a light gun, and for how like what it is, shooting a 12 gauge round which kicks out of there, it basically shoots it almost effortlessly. There is not much kick into it compared to if you took a shotgun, a regular shotgun, a 12 gauge, and you shot 50 rounds through it on your shoulder,
you're gonna be sore.
You're gonna probably be feeling a little bit. You'll be like,
I was just shooting the other day, and I was feeling it a little bit. And I didn't shoot that much. I'm still actually kind of feel still a little sore.
Exactly, and so to where they've changed that mechanism up to where it absorbs more of the recoil back into the gun and not into you.
Which allows you to also be more accurate and stuff.
Exactly, because you can hold it more. You're not jumping around as much. You're not getting moved back each time as hard. And that's another major thing that just I can do in just a gun alone. I can take a regular gun and I can tone that back
and make it way more accurate.
Exactly.
Well, accurate when you're firing consecutively.
Exactly.
I guess semis, if you're firing at a decent rate, it's not that hard, but with fully automatics, it's definitely
and something you can do with a lot of guns is now they're doing kind of an all-in-one kind of thing, to where especially with shotguns, is where I can change out the barrels and change the caliber of the gun, which is crazy because any other time you have to get a new gun for that.
Right.
Like if you want a different caliber gun, you have to get a different caliber gun. But now they made it where you can change out barrels. You can say, I want to shoot a 30-06. I'm going to put in my 30-06 round, change the barrel out, change the action out. It's still the same gun. You just are basically buying parts for it. It's like accessories on it. You're just like, it's an all-in-one type of thing.
That's awesome.
But they're expensive. The barrels are still like $300 a piece. It's
right.
You basically are buying a new gun each time, but you can do it it's an all-in-one thing. And so not only can we change triggers up, change the hammers up, change the recoil up, we can literally just change guns if we want. We just put all kinds of shit on them.
One of the crazy things I was thinking about was goes along with the scopes and the sniper rifles, and I guess definitely in the bullet technology, where people can shoot at such great lengths, where, like you said earlier, have to worry about the physics and of the curvature of the earth and everything, and how that all works, and have to shoot at crazy angles to hit targets.
Look at
just at miles away.
Look at what's the longest recorded shot. I want to say it's over 1.5 miles. I think they passed 2 miles.
1.5 miles. Little shot. Which is just over 2 miles away.
Just over 2 miles.
Which was like December of 2016, because it said a month ago. So it'd be December 2016.
Craig Harrison. He had it. So when you're reaching out to that far, you're bringing in variables that they had to figure out. They had to figure out all these things. Just shooting into the heat can change your bullet flight up. Shooting into like a heat, what's it called, heat horizon or whatever, where the heat waves are coming off the ground, like in the desert. What the hell is that called?
I have no idea what that's called.
You know what I'm talking about, though?
I know what you're talking about, but I have no idea what it's called.
As long as you know. And I hope someone else knows out there. But that, just shooting into that changes your bullet path when you're reaching out that far, because when in short distances, it's just so fast that not a whole lot really matters. So, like, it may be windy, but if I'm from here to you and I shoot you, it's not going to matter. The bullet's not going to go off or whatever. But the further out you reach, the more
variables kick in.
Yeah, any little thing kicks in. So you got air gusts that you shoot through. That you're not 100% sure if they're there or not. The wind can change on you mid-flight of the bullet when it's out there, because it takes a few seconds to get there when you get out that far. There's so many different things. Then, if you're shooting that far, you also kind of have to worry about the curve of the earth a little bit. When you're reaching out that far, 2 miles doesn't sound very far, but when you're shooting and trying to hit one point,
that's you having to see 2 miles away. I mean, obviously you're using a scope, but like
not only see, like away. You can see it, but you're like, all right, I want to hit that dot, this dot right there. I want
this little ant 2 miles away.
This little bullet, I want it to hit that dot, and they do it. That's what's crazy. And so
that's what I think. That's not why I'm so fascinated with them, because then they can reach those lengths and much more technique and skill and knowledge gets put into it.
I want to say, well, he definitely held the record. I don't remember. It was in Afghanistan. I know that. It was with a 50 cal. I want to say it was a mile-long shot with a 50 cal round, and it was a confirmed kill. But the crazy thing about it is he shot him through a concrete wall. At over a mile long, he shot through a concrete wall and killed this person.
That's fucked.
It's crazy. That's the power of a 50 cal bullet. So they're just like, all right, the guy's shooting. He's hiding behind the wall. He's like, I'm fine. I'm behind a concrete wall. I don't even know where this guy's at that's shooting at me, but I should be fine. He just changes the shell he just puts in a different bullet. He says, I know right where he's at, cycles it, makes a shot, and it goes, not only kills the guy, but basically obliterated him, because
had to go over a mile and a half and through a concrete wall.
After
going a mile and a half, losing all that speed and power.
So like what we were talking about with how a bullets expand differently, that round was more of like an explosion round, and so like it already connected behind this man. It didn't even hit him and blow him out. It already started expanding by like a foot behind him, and so by the time it got to him through the wall, it was like an explosion just happened behind him in the wall, but only coming at him, and
he didn't see it coming. He was dead before it.
Yeah, it was just an obliteration. It was the guy was splattered all over the wall. And so that's just a crazy thing. One thing that we can do with bullets is just, not only can we go that far,
well, now
we can go that far with
now
power.
We got laser guided ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Now all you gotta do is just shoot in the vicinity, make sure the laser's on point, and then you guide
Which
it
will be, because it's a laser. It doesn't have variables of the wind and all that shit. It's a dot.
And then the missile, the electronic chips and shit in the missile with the fins that use it to rotate it will
bring it back
guide it
onto
onto the person. You don't even have to be shooting at the person, just near them. And with as long as the laser was on, that's all it needs.
Exactly, and which is crazy. It's
so I wonder how long distances they can get with that.
Yeah. How far out can they reach with that?
I feel like, I don't know, they'd probably have to do something crazy, because I feel like with the bullet having to like change direction and stuff, it is going to lose a lot of power and velocity. But
yeah, but that's the thing. That's what I'm saying, is that we're reaching out further than we ever did. That was a world record shot, and it was not only pinpoint accurate. He blew through a fucking wall. So we not only hit it, exploded it. We hit it with so much power that that's never been done before. We could not only hit that, we can hit it hard as fuck. We can punch through engine blocks of vehicles. That's what they do with the 50 cal. They can punch through engine blocks in convoys, and then they just wait for the people to get out, and they shoot them too.
Oh, there was a one bullet I'm talking about.
They're like, well, I can't get the guy inside, so I'll just shoot his fucking truck and wait till he gets out.
It goes with the rail guns, which I guess the laser cannon kind of made them obsolete, because what the rail guns was just like these giant-ass bullets that they use electromagnetic to propel the bullet instead of like gunfire and stuff.
Yeah.
And like each bullet was like $25,000, but the way they looked at it was like they wanted to use it mainly for targeting missiles, enemy missiles and stuff like that. And they're like, well, if they're sending a multi-million-dollar missile this way, and we can destroy it with a $25,000 bullet, large bullet,
and
we'll take those odds every day. But I mean, now they have the laser cannon thing where they attach them to like AC-130s, where like if a missile comes at them, the laser will just point at the missile and make it explode with the laser wherever the fuck it does. The high power laser, and
you should look up the
will detonate it in midair,
or maybe not. I don't know. I don't even know what it's called, honestly. But the plane that I talked about that has a missile or a laser on it, and they launch that plane up in the air for long range nuclear missiles. They try and detonate them before they hit ground or whatever. I don't know what that would do, and if the nuke detonated in the sky, but
it's still bad.
Oh yeah, it'd probably still be horrible. I don't know what the radiation or whatever, but they have that out that where they have a plane that if a nuke is launched, it can get up in the air and hunt it down and shoot it down with a laser now, and that's just fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, we have to make those technological advances with our weaponry to protect people.
Exactly.
So
because we got too crazy with nukes, what the fuck?
But the railgun, I was looking up the damage it did, and it showed pictures of there was like 8, like 1 or like 2, like maybe like 1 to 3 inch plates, 8 of them, that the railgun bullet went through, and went through all of them and made a hole literally like this size, and they were just talking about like, no, nothing will survive this bullet.
No, nothing.
But now they got laser cannons, so that kind of makes them obsolete. But still, like the destructive force
even
that
a laser
they have.
cannon can't shoot through a aircraft carrier.
You're right. I'm sure. Well, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like they can do that.
I'm sure that eventually they might make a laser cannon that's more high powered if they haven't already.
I think they have it. It's just it's hard to make those things portable because they draw so much power to be fired. So it's hard to make a laser like that powerful. It's hard to make it portable because basically one that big would basically just be like, all right, we have it, but like we're just gonna build a boat around it. Like we're just gonna try to make this giant thing that's the size of a boat float. Is pretty when you're talking that much power to. I think they have lasers out there that are probably that powerful and probably could do it. It's just like
you're right. They're like it'd be too much energy consumption.
Exactly, and
even
so
for just a giant ass boat, because that not only is that it have to power that, it's powering the boat itself. That's tons and tons and tons and tons
exactly
of weight, plus the weight of the people, and then like planes and shit like that. So I'm sure it would be too much, a lot.
It's impressive that we have one this powerful on a boat, really.
Well, I wonder what, like, the charge speed is.
I think it said like 30,000 watts. I was reading it.
Is this it?
No, it's a particle beam. Laser printing.
Weapon laser system, I believe is what they called it. Recharge rate on Navy ship. Maybe that will narrow down the
30 kilowatts to low levels allow it to be used on low power to dazzle a person's eye, non-lethally make them turn away from a threatening posture, and increase to 30,000 watts to burn motors and detonate explosive materials to fry sensors and burn motors. So 30,000 watts will burn.
Damn, they says right here, it says it has a rapid succession requiring only a few seconds of firing.
So in 2 seconds you can fire it again?
A few seconds.
Damn.
So
that really isn't. That is impressive. So not only can we shoot it pretty decently fast.
But this one is talking about is only to fry like sensors, burn out motors, detonate explosive materials such as like missiles, which so they're very vulnerable easily, and just like small UAVs.
We got this put on a boat in 2014. Damn.
I knew it was recent.
That's pretty
and
impressive.
that was just testing it though. That wasn't actually like using it for. That was just trying to test it. They
30,000 watts. That's really not that crazy just to be able to effectively detonate missiles and shoot them out of the sky. That's not that bad, and it recharges.
Well, here's a 150 kilowatt ship laser, laser weapon from destroyers and carriers.
Are we how are we on time?
We got 8 minutes.
So I think we're gonna wrap it up a little bit. This is pretty much, we're kind of pegged out on the topics for right now of the guns for this episode. But
there's one thing I could talk about, the USS Zumwalt. It was a large aircraft carrier. It's supposed to be futuristic, kind of like they referenced like James Bond looking kind of thing. And it was it kind of looked like it was a nice like steel Navy ship. It was massive. It cost $4.4 billion and stuff. But there was so many things. There were so many things wrong with it. There were issues on it. It took 20 years to build one. And they wanted like I can't remember who ordered them. Probably just the government wanted like 25 by like a certain like 2018 or some shit like that. But they were like, since it took so long, they narrowed it down to like 3, even though that's not even possible because it took 20 years just to build one. Then it cost $4.4 billion, and then some of the articles I was reading on it said that it was vulnerable in some weather conditions to tip over. Like that's $4.4 billion just to tip over.
In ships that we can normally withstand any storm.
And say it was like the biggest one and everything. Obviously, it's massive, but there was so many flaws to it, and it was $4.4 billion basically just wasted. Like, to be honest, like we didn't even need it. Like we have like I mentioned earlier today, we have the largest air force in the world, and then our Navy has the second largest air force in the world. Like I don't think we need to make something like this.
Yeah, there was really
we could be using that money for more important things.
Well, especially if it didn't even fucking work.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure. I bet it was a wrecking machine, but sounds like if you just throw some choppy waves at it, it could about go down. It sounds pretty wasteful for fucking. What was it
$4 billion?
$4 billion.
4.4
$4 billion.
But yeah, it was definitely just a giant waste. I can't remember. I think it was recent they started testing it. It might have been like 2016, but I can't remember. I looked at it today, but I just don't remember. But it was just a waste of money.
Sounds like it.
Not even though like we didn't need it in the first place, but then to make it and spend so much time on it, so much money on it to make it just for it to not just work.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's our government.
No shit. We're gonna get into the government on one of these episodes. We're gonna have some guests.
I feel like there's so many big topics that they all in some way tie in to the government.
Oh yeah. Damn near about all the topics you could talk about.
I'm sure we could went into a lot of stuff with the government, with like guns and stuff, such as gun laws.
Oh yeah,
and tragedies and
rights,
things, morals and shit like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
we're gonna save the government topics for another episode. So So we're really trying hard to get some guests on the podcast. We want to have some cool people come on. And
we do have some people, like 3 people interested. We have like a local producer, and a local rapper here in Fort Wayne that want to come on. We're just going to basically just one giant interview and talk about many different things and probably sample some of the music and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah.
And just see what they're doing with their lives, what they want to do, and just see. It'll be about them. And then we got that scientist dude who needs to get back to us.
Yeah, I haven't.
He was interested, but you emailed him.
Yeah, I emailed him on May 4th. I looked today, and I still haven't heard anything back. So so we're kind of struggling to have some people on. So we're looking for credible people. That's the main thing. We want to have credible people.
When we want to talk about things such
as so
stem cells and gene splicing,
if not credible people, we want at least interesting people that are doing interesting things.
Yeah, like making music. And
exactly.
Being part of a culture, and not only that, we learn about the Fort Wayne culture and stuff.
Exactly,
like that.
And so we're kind of on the hunt for some of that, and I don't know. I guess what do you think about having them leave comments of some people who might be interested on, or they might have ideas of us for having guests? I think.
Well, they'd have to be local people.
Yeah, they got to be kind of local.
I'd be down
area.
If anyone wants to leave a comment on people who are credible in certain interesting areas of study.
So.
Leave their name and stuff, and we can possibly reach out to them.
Yeah, we're looking for people to come on, interesting people. Like Christian pointed out, they don't have to be doctors or anything like that, but we are looking for experts in the field too, but that's gonna be kind of on us. But we're looking for also interesting people who have an interesting life and something that we could talk about on the podcast. And
before we end it here, we have one more question from Kane. Are self-defense bullets the same as hollow points? I don't know much about self-defense bullets.
No, they're not at all. So, all right, Kane, I'll answer your question. So, no, they're not at all the same, even closely related, really. So, self-defense rounds, the big difference with them is not only the design of the bullet, but how the velocity of the bullet is a big change. So you would think self-defense rounds are going to be super fast. They want to be, they want to fuck shit up. No, they actually slow them way down. To compare with what they can, and the reason for it is because home defense is what they are. And so you don't want a round where you're shooting through the person and throughout your house. If a person's in your house, you want a bullet that's gonna shoot them, put them down, and not go anywhere else. Compared to where like a hollow point, it can go right through them and keep going through a wall. I mean, I can punch through the drywall. A bullet's gonna fly through it effortlessly. So that's a main difference in the rounds. Not only is the bullet design in most home defense rounds compared to a hollow point round is completely different. They try to make them break up and expand a lot, and that's also another thing that they want to expand a lot and stay in the person, or barely get out of him. They change it up. They like with shotgun rounds, they have home defense shotgun rounds, and some of them will have discs in them, like that one. What is it? The RIP bullet. Mm-hmm. The slug of that was a disc, so they'll put like BBs and then different BBs in there, like different size ones, and then disc slugs. And so the disc, when it hits, it really doesn't go through you because it's a flat thing, and so it's meant to stay in you. And that's the main difference. And so between a hollow point and home defense rounds is that they're just meant to be a lot less fast. They're not meant to be fast, and they're not meant to penetrate at all. Hollow points aren't meant to penetrate either, but they will still go through. They're not getting slowed down.
No, they're just too fast to be able to just stop.
They're coming out of the barrel still just as fast as a full metal jacket round. That answers your question, Kane. But yeah, so we're going to kind of wrap this up. Like I say, we're looking for some interesting people. So if you have any ideas, I guess leave us some comments. We'll kind of look through them. If they're not dumb, don't be dumb. I guess. Don't leave us like some stupid name. I don't know. Patrick Starr, have him on, but or something, you know. But we're looking for some guests. We're working on it. We're gonna get some guests on for sure here pretty soon, and
we're just reaching out, networking right now.
Yeah, we're definitely reaching out as best as we can. We're trying hard right now.
No, we got some people. It's just
we got some people interested in just getting back with
conflicts.
Yeah,
with Zion and Nate, and then
scheduling conflicts.
The scientist dude, he won't get back, even though he was interested earlier. But he's probably just busy. I don't know what he's doing.
I'm sure he's a busy guy, but we're looking into it, and I think that's it. I think that's all we got. This is the third episode of the long trip
trace,
and that's all we got.
All right, thanks for tuning in. We're out.